Olivia Marshall was in her third year as an assistant professor at the Business School of Boston University. Outside her office window, the trees along the Charles River were glowing in beautiful shades of orange, yellow, and red. It was late November, and the whole campus was full of energy. Students and professors alike were excited about the upcoming Thanksgiving break, but Olivia didn't feel the same joy. For her, this time of year always brought mixed feelings, especially when it came to her family. Sitting on her desk was a letter from her parents' house back in Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was written by her mother, Carol, in her usual perfect and neat handwriting. The letter invited Olivia home for Thanksgiving dinner. Olivia picked it up and read it again, letting out a deep sigh. She knew what the visit would be like: predictable, uncomfortable, and exhausting. Her parents, Robert and Carol, owned a small accounting firm called Marshall Accounting. They had been running it together for over 30 years in the suburbs of Minneapolis. The firm had a good reputation in the local community and a loyal group of clients. But things were slowly going downhill. The business hadn't kept up with modern technology. They were still stuck in old systems and paper files, and clients were starting to leave for more modern firms. Olivia had been helping at the family firm since she was a teenager. She spent weekends and summers organizing files, learning the ropes, and doing small tasks. Later, she studied business and accounting in college. Partly inspired by those early experiences, she paid for most of her education herself through part-time jobs, scholarships, and student loans. Even now, loan payments were being deducted from her paycheck every month. In contrast, her younger sister Ashley had always been treated differently. Ashley was now in law school at the University of Minnesota. Since her college days, her parents had paid for everything: her tuition, rent, food, and even extra spending money. Ashley didn't need to worry about finances. Everything was handed to her without question. "You're so independent," their parents would often say to Olivia with pride. But those words didn't always feel like praise. Olivia had grown up learning to take care of herself, while Ashley, with her golden blonde hair and bright blue eyes, was always the center of attention. Since childhood, Ashley had been described as the jewel of the family. She had a bubbly personality, made friends easily, and knew how to charm everyone. But she had also grown up spoiled, often leaning on her parents whenever things got tough. Olivia stood by her office window and imagined what Thanksgiving dinner would be like this year. It would probably be just like last year, and the year before that. Ashley would sit at the center of attention, sharing news about her grades, her law internship, or her latest romantic relationship. Their parents would hang on to every word, their eyes glowing with pride, and Olivia would sit quietly at the edge of the conversation, barely noticed. In fact, she hadn't returned home since Thanksgiving last year. But even if she hadn't been staying in Minneapolis, Olivia had still been supporting her parents' business from afar. For the past 3 years, she had been flying in every other weekend, leaving behind her own work and schedule, to help keep their accounting firm from falling apart. She updated their outdated systems, introduced digital tools, and trained the staff. She even used a portion of her own salary to keep the office running. Thanks to her efforts, the business hadn't failed. But somehow, no one in the family ever talked about what she was doing. Her work stayed in the background, unnoticed, unappreciated. Just then, Olivia's phone buzzed. It was a text message from Ashley. "Looking forward to next week. Did you hear? My internship offered me a job." Olivia stared at the screen for a moment and smiled faintly. She didn't hate Ashley, not really. Ashley had grown up in a world where everything came easily. She didn't ask to be treated as the favorite. That was their parents' doing. Still, Olivia's chest tightened as she typed her reply. "Congratulations, that's wonderful. Looking forward to seeing you next week." The words were polite and supportive, but inside, Olivia felt anxious. She could already picture herself sitting at that long dining table again, clapping along for Ashley's latest success while her own efforts remained invisible. She turned to her desk drawer and pulled out a worn notebook. It contained pages of notes she had taken over the past 3 years, details of all the work she had done for her parents' firm. She flipped through the pages and let her fingers rest on the notes from one especially long weekend: new accounting software installations, restructured financial reports, and hours of unpaid consulting. If her parents never thanked her, Olivia thought, at least she would know the truth of what she had done. She knew her own worth, even if no one else did. She tucked the notebook into her bag, grabbed her coat, and turned off the light in her office. Outside, the cold wind carried fallen leaves across the sidewalk. Her job as a professor, Her research, the quiet weekends spent fixing someone else's business, she had handled it all on her own. But no matter how much she did, there was still a part of her that longed to be seen, heard, and valued, not just for what she accomplished, but for who she was. Their faces said everything. Olivia could see fear and guilt written in her parents' and sisters' expressions. It was as if a curtain had been pulled back, exposing truths they had worked hard to hide. 3 years ago, Olivia said calmly, I found out by accident that the office was in trouble. The finances weren't adding up, so I stepped in. I introduced new systems, improved how things worked, and tried to breathe life back into the business. But it still wasn't enough. Your retirement savings were far too low. Her father, Robert, lowered his head. For years, he had been giving financial advice to others, but when it came to his own business and future, he hadn't been careful. He had ignored the warning signs, pretending everything was fine. Olivia's voice softened, but her words were steady. For the last 3 years, I've used most of my salary for 2 things. 1, to support the firm from behind the scenes. The second, to build up a retirement fund for both of you. Ashley's eyes went wide. But, how could you manage that? Assistant professors don't make that much. I worked other jobs, Olivia said simply. I've been doing financial consulting for startups in Boston. I'd spend my weekdays at the university, weekends at the office, and nights working with clients. I sent most of that money home. Carol, their mother, covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes. Why didn't you ever tell us? There wasn't a right time, Olivia replied, her voice calm but firm. Whenever we talked, you only wanted to hear about Ashley. You never asked about my work, never gave me space to talk about what I was doing. Ashley suddenly jumped to her feet, her voice raised. But this is crazy. You did all that without telling anyone? You made decisions for the whole family. We didn't even get a say. Olivia looked straight at her sister. Her eyes didn't flinch. This doesn't concern you, Ashley. Ashley crossed her arms. What's that supposed to mean? Taking a deep breath, Olivia said what she'd held inside for so long. I've also been secretly paying for your law school. Ashley froze. Her jaw dropped. What? Olivia turned to her parents. You didn't tell her? Both Robert and Carol looked away, guilt heavy in their eyes. 2 years ago, Olivia continued, Mom and Dad couldn't afford your tuition anymore. The office was falling apart, and the bank wouldn't approve any more loans. But they didn't want to upset you, so they came to me. The dining room went silent. Ashley stared at their parents like she was seeing them for the first time. I didn't know, Ashley whispered. Her voice was small and shaky. I was the only one who didn't know. I didn't want you to lose your dream, Olivia said gently, so I covered the tuition. I didn't do it for recognition. I did it because I believed you deserved the chance to finish. Carol wiped her tears with a trembling hand. Olivia, we're so sorry. I made that choice, Olivia said, her voice quiet but strong, and I don't regret it, but it's not okay to treat my sacrifices like they're expected, and then, on top of everything, to hand me a bill for raising Ashley's future child. She stopped herself. The words had already shaken the room. Robert covered his face with both hands. It was a joke. A terrible, thoughtless joke. Olivia's voice rose, just slightly. When I had to earn every dollar of my own college tuition, took out loans I'm still repaying, none of that was a joke. Carol started, but no words came. Olivia stood up slowly, gathering the papers from the table. I'll throw away that bill. I'm not asking for money back. She looked each of them in the eye. But from today on, I want to be treated the same. No more favoritism. Turning to Ashley, she added, I don't hate you. You have real talent. I believe you'll become a brilliant lawyer, but you have to stop expecting everything to be handed to you. Olivia picked up her coat and bag. I'm staying at a hotel tonight. I've already made the reservation. Wait, Olivia. Robert stood quickly. Please don't go. She looked back at him. I think we all need time to think. We can talk again tomorrow. With that, she opened the door. The cold November night rushed in. She stepped outside, looking up at the stars, and for the first time in years, she felt lighter, like a heavy weight had finally been lifted. The next morning, Olivia sat by the window of her hotel room, quietly watching snowflakes fall outside. Her phone was full of unread messages and missed calls from her parents, but she wasn't ready to answer, not just yet. She didn't regret what she had said the night before. It had been painful, but the truth needed to come out. Still, her heart felt tight, unsure of what would come next. Then, there was a knock on the door. "Not room service," said a voice. It was her father. Olivia opened the door. Robert stood there in a cozy sweater, looking tired and older than she remembered. He held a paper bag in his hands. "Can I come in?" he asked softly. Olivia nodded and let him in. He handed her the bag. "Cinnamon rolls, from that little bakery you loved when you were a kid. I went there first thing this morning." She took the bag and smiled faintly. The warm smell brought back memories, Saturday mornings walking hand in hand with her dad. "Thanks," she said. They sat down at the small table. "Olivia," Robert began, taking a deep breath, "I need to apologize. Last night, that bill, it was awful, and even though it wasn't my idea, I didn't stop it. That's on me." Olivia sat quietly, listening. "I knew you were helping with the office, but I didn't know how much, or maybe I didn't want to know. I was avoiding it, afraid to admit how much we depended on you." He looked down at his hands, then back up. "I leaned on your strength too much. I took advantage of your silence, and I made the mistake of putting one daughter above the other." Olivia looked at him carefully. He didn't look proud or defensive, he looked like a man facing himself for the first time. "Why?" she asked simply. Robert let out a long breath. "You were always so independent. You never needed us the way Ashley did. She always wanted attention, reassurance, and we, your mom and I, we got used to that. We told ourselves you were fine, but we were wrong." Olivia turned to the window. Snow was beginning to blanket the roads below. "All my life, I thought I had to earn love." Robert's eyes filled with tears. "We were always proud of you, but we didn't say it enough. We didn't show it, and I'm sorry for that." There was a long silence, but it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt calm, like something had changed. "We talked last night after you left," Robert said. "Carol was heartbroken. She made an appointment to start therapy. She wants to fix what she's ignored for too long." Olivia raised her eyebrows in surprise. Her mother had never been one to admit needing help. "And Ashley," Robert added, "wants to talk to you, but she wanted me to speak to you first." He picked up one of the cinnamon rolls and wrapped it in a napkin. "We've been thinking about your suggestion, about the retirement plan, and also, we want you to become co-owner of the firm." Olivia blinked. "Co-owner? You've already saved the business," Robert said. "You deserve a say, real authority, proper pay, and Ashley wants to join after law school. She wants to create a legal department, Marshall Accounting Legal." Olivia gave a surprised laugh. "You're serious?" "Completely," Robert said. "We want to build a new future, for all of us, together." He paused, then added with a warm smile, "We're not ready for that retirement home yet, but we want you in charge when we are." Olivia thought about her job in Boston. She had worked hard to get there, but maybe there was room to make space for something else too. "I'll think about it," she said softly. "Good," Robert said. "And, will you come home tonight? 6 o'clock. Carol's making dinner. Ashley wants to talk." Olivia hesitated, then nodded. "I'll come." Robert stood, then looked back before leaving. "Olivia, I love you, and this time, I'll make sure you know it." After he left, Olivia stood at the window again. Snow continued to fall, slowly covering the past in a soft, quiet white. For the first time in years, she felt the weight in her chest begin to melt. She didn't know everything that the future held, but she believed something had changed. A new beginning was finally possible.